Pacific Yew is a slow-growing evergreen tree native to the Pacific Northwest of North America. For centuries, its needles, bark, and other parts were not known as modern cancer medicine, but in the 20th century, scientists discovered that compounds from the tree could lead to one of medicine's most important anti-cancer drugs. The key compound, paclitaxel, was developed from Pacific Yew and became an important treatment for several cancers. What makes the story remarkable is that the tree itself is poisonous in the wrong circumstances, yet careful scientific research turned one of its natural chemicals into a powerful medical tool. Today, paclitaxel is produced through more sustainable methods, including related use species and semi-synthetic processes, rather than relying heavily on wild Pacific yew trees.
Madagascar Periwinkle looks like an ordinary garden flower, but hidden inside it are chemicals that transformed cancer treatment. The plant produces vincristin and vinblastine, compounds that interfere with cell division. Scientists discovered their potential during research into whether the plant could help with diabetes, and the investigation unexpectedly led towards cancer therapy. These drugs became especially important in treating certain blood cancers and other malignancies. The plant itself is not something to experiment with or consume because its natural alkaloids can be toxic. Its story shows how a beautiful flowering plant can contain chemicals powerful enough to harm cells and, when carefully isolated and dosed as medicines, help save lives.
Autumn crocus is a beautiful purple flowering plant, but its beauty hides one of its most dangerous chemicals, colchicine. Almost every part of the plant can be toxic if ingested, and accidental poisoning can cause severe illness or death. Yet, colchicine has a very different role in medicine when it is purified and given in carefully controlled doses. It has been used to treat gout and certain other inflammatory conditions because it interferes with processes involved in inflammation and cell activity. The plant's medical history is therefore a striking example of the difference between a poisonous natural substance and a properly prepared medicine. The same chemical that makes the plant dangerous can become medically useful when scientists control the dose.
Rauwolfia is a group of plants native mainly to tropical and subtropical regions of Asia, Africa, and other areas, with Rauwolfia serpentina being particularly important in traditional medicine. Its roots contain several powerful alkaloids, including reserpine, which was once widely used to treat high blood pressure and certain psychiatric conditions. Reserpine works partly by reducing the storage of certain neurotransmitters in nerve cells, producing effects on blood pressure and the nervous system. Because these compounds can also cause significant side effects, their medical use requires careful control. Rauwolfia is a fascinating example of how a plant containing potent chemicals can move from traditional medicinal use into modern pharmacology, and how later research can also reveal the limitations of those early medicines.
Calabar bean is a tropical African plant whose seeds contain physostigmine, a powerful natural compound that affects the nervous system. The raw seeds are highly poisonous and can cause dangerous muscle contractions, breathing problems, and other severe effects. Yet, physostigmine became medically valuable because it can increase the amount of acetylcholine available at nerve connections. Historically, purified physostigmine was used to treat certain types of glaucoma, and it has also been used in specific cases of anticholinergic poisoning. The plant is a striking example of how a substance that is dangerous in its natural form can become useful when isolated, purified, and administered under medical supervision.
Opium poppy is one of the most medically important and controversial plants in human history. Its latex contains several alkaloids, including morphine and codeine, which have powerful effects on the nervous system. Morphine became a major medical painkiller because it can dramatically reduce severe pain, while related compounds have been used in other medicines. But the same opioid chemistry can also cause respiratory depression, dependence, and overdose, making these substances highly controlled in many countries. Modern medicine does not simply use raw poppy material. Pharmaceutical drugs are purified, standardized, and carefully dosed. The plant therefore sits at a remarkable intersection of ancient medicine, modern pharmacology, and serious risks.
Ipecac is a small tropical plant whose roots and rhizomes contain alkaloids, including emetine. For centuries, preparations from the plant were used medicinally, particularly as an emetic, something intended to induce vomiting. Ipecac syrup was once kept in many homes for suspected poisoning, but routine use was later abandoned because making someone vomit does not reliably improve outcomes and can sometimes cause additional harm. The plant has also had historical uses related to certain intestinal infections because of its active compounds. Today, its story is more useful as a lesson in medical history. A plant can contain biologically powerful chemicals, yet later evidence may show that an old treatment is not the safest or most effective choice.
Indian snakeroot, especially Rauwolfia serpentina, has a long history of medicinal use in South Asia. Its roots contain several alkaloids, most famously reserpine, which became an important early drug for lowering blood pressure. Reserpine works by interfering with the storage of certain chemical messengers in nerve cells, which can reduce sympathetic nervous system activity. However, it can also produce significant unwanted effects, and newer medicines eventually replaced it for many patients. The plant remains historically important because it helped scientists understand how natural compounds could influence the cardiovascular and nervous systems. Its journey from traditional herbal medicine to modern pharmacology shows both the promise and the limitations of plant-derived drugs.
Camphor tree is an evergreen tree native to East Asia, and its wood and leaves contain aromatic compounds that have been used medicinally for centuries. The best-known compound is camphor, which affects sensory nerves and can produce a cooling sensation when applied to the skin. Historically, camphor was used in preparations for muscle aches, cough remedies, and other traditional treatments. But concentrated camphor can be poisonous, especially if swallowed, so modern medicinal products use controlled amounts. The tree itself is not simply a medicine tree. Its natural chemistry contains substances that can help in carefully formulated products, but become dangerous at high doses.
Wild yam is a group of climbing plants whose underground structures contain diosgenin, a steroid-like compound that became extremely important to pharmaceutical chemistry. Scientists learned how to convert diosgenin into steroid compounds used in the manufacture of hormones and other medicines. The plant itself does not naturally contain human progesterone or birth control hormones, despite claims sometimes made about wild yam supplements. Its importance comes from the chemistry that made it a useful starting material for pharmaceutical synthesis. This is what makes wild yam fascinating. A seemingly ordinary woodland vine helped provide raw material for the development of modern steroid medicines.
Nux Vomica is a tree native to parts of South and Southeast Asia, whose seeds contain the highly toxic alkaloids strychnine and brucine. Strychnine is especially dangerous because it disrupts inhibitory signaling in the nervous system, leading to severe muscle spasms and potentially death. Historically, carefully prepared extracts containing these compounds were used in certain medical preparations and as stimulants, but their toxicity made them extremely hazardous. Modern medicine has limited routine therapeutic use for strychnine because safer alternatives exist. The plant is therefore a powerful example of how a chemical can have pharmacological effects while being far too dangerous for ordinary medicinal use. African dream herb, commonly associated with Silene undulata, is a flowering plant traditionally used by some communities in southern Africa in spiritual and dream-related practices. It has attracted scientific and popular interest because preparations from the plant have been investigated for possible effects on sleep and dreaming. However, evidence for its medical effectiveness remains limited and should not be presented as a proven medicine. Unlike plants such as Pacific Yew or Madagascar Periwinkle, there is no established modern drug derived from African dream herb that makes it a standard medical treatment. Its story is interesting precisely because it shows the difference between traditional plant use, scientific investigation, and medically proven therapy.